let's talk about how your gusset went this week. So what, you have to unmute yourself. So what about your gusset worked for you, or questions you have? Raise your hand and I'll call on you if you have a question. Everybody's good. You got your gusset good? No gaps? Oh my gosh, really? And Ball, did you know you didn't have gaps?
Not so far that I've seen.
Oh my gosh, really? So do you think that little extra stitch made the difference?
Yeah.
Okay, so you could see that if we did that yarn over and then went right into our turn on our needle, that it would just, it's just loose because it's just a yarn over on there. So that one little stitch, for those of you that weren't with us last week, Anne was in the shop a week ago and she said, I made these mittens before and I just had so much gapping. That was my aha then. Well, of course you would have gapping because I had just knit mine and worked at moving that one stitch around. So everybody got along okay with that then. Anything you encountered, any problems? Yes, Sandra.
Not really a problem, but I did notice with that extra stitch before the end of the round that my thumb was like slightly in one direction. So for my second mitten, instead of doing it one stitch from the end of the round, I did it one stitch into the beginning of the round.
Okay. All right. Well, fabulous. You can make those adjustments. You bet.
Now it's a left and right mitten instead of just
yeah. Very good. Very good. All right. Anything else that you ran into that you need help with before we jump into our tutorial? Wow, this is great. Congratulations. You want to show them? Anybody got some show and tell? Hold them up. Hold them up. Let's see it. Oh my gosh. Oh, they all look so good. Wow. Congratulations. And inspiration.
The video helps a lot to go back and look at it.
Okay.
You know, go back and look at it when you pick this up again. I came home from knit paper scissors today and I ripped it all back because I thought I did it right. And then I watched the video again and I thought, heck, that was all right. And so I put it quick to that.
You just wanted to practice, Nancy.
Yeah, right.
Right. Okay. So we're gonna go to the camera and I'm gonna actually finish. I was going to just wrap this one up and then I thought, no, I want to do this with you so that you can see. If you saw my Facebook Live, you saw all the ends that I wove in, 39. So yeah, those stripes look really cute, but they are not, it takes a while to weave those in. Couple of things here. And then we'll do the other gusset. This has 5 rounds in it. I'm just giving you some stripe lessons here. Typically this is a 4-round stripe, and I just needed 1 round to join my stitches, and I just didn't want to do 1 round and then add another color. And so I made a design decision to go 5 stripes. It looks a smidge fatter laying down here, but you know, when you've got it on your hand, you're not going to notice that. So I guess my point is I want to empower you. Again, the thing we run into so many times is I have to do it exactly how that pattern reads or the knit police are going to come get me. That's just not true. You need to have confidence in your ability to say, because this is really a visual thing. It's just out of perspective. You can see that this is where it's added in. So this is even a little skinnier, but you can kind of see visually, it's not going to show that much. Now, when you finish your thumb, she gives you some measurements. So she says, knit every round until the thumb measures 1 7/5, 2, 2 1/2, 2 1/4, 2 or 3, or 1 round shorter than the desired length for the thumb. And so when we were knitting these as samples for the shop, we always kind of had that question, well, do you measure it? Where's my 2 1/4? Is my 2 1/4 here from here to here? Or is it all the way down to where the thumb begins? So mine should be 2, let's see, what am I doing? I'm doing 2 1/4. So it is from this part, the top of the thumb, that you would measure it. Okay. And I'm right at 2, and I need to do 1 more round. So that would fit. The best thing, and I know you're making these for other folks, so sometimes that's not always going to be easier. So, you're making it for grandkids, you're making it for little ones, and they're not there. It's okay. Just kind of do it based upon the pattern. And then you could see how it will fit. But for those of us that are making it for here, see, I wanted to put it on so that you could see. So here's my thumbnail right there. It's kind of at the top, the first round of that green. So I'm just a smidge beyond that. But if I really pull it on, see, just a bit of my fingernail is sticking out there. So the way that you finish is 1 round before. And so how do we finish? So I'm ready to finish. This isn't one of those things where you decrease, do some plain rows, decrease. You simply knit your thumb, and then boom, you're done. So she says, next round, knit 2 together. And so we would just come, and I would be ready to knit my 2 together all the way around. And you'll notice that as I'm doing this thumb, I'm doing it as a magic loop. So there's just the front and the back, just like with all of our stitches. So I've only got the 15 stitches on here. And I'm going to show you how I make the turn. I knit my 2 together, pull them up, then I'm just going to turn it just like. So when we talk about magic looping and talking about that, you can do anything. You can do the fingers on a mitten or on a glove. You need to do a little pumpkin. You need to do anything little. You can do 4 stitches, 8 stitches, whatever that might be. So I'm going to push, 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 and I'll knit 2 together on this side. Actually, we had 16 stitches because you add that 1 stitch when we do this. So 16 stitches. And oh, I must be off. Oh well. I'll knit 1, and then I'll just knit the 1 alone. It's okay, not a big deal. If I've got 1 more or 1 less. And so then at this point, I'm going to break yarn. I'll weave it through and then finish it up. But it looks nice, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm just going to pull it out, and I'll do that later because I got to have a needle. All right, so let's give this a look here while we are here. So I haven't wove these ends in a little bit, so some of my gray is still sticking up. But she has you pick up 1 stitch, and I'm not quite fond of just picking up 1 stitch, okay? Now, I know that there is some fixing that we do when we weave in our ends, but we don't want to sew the whole thumb on, okay? If you have to fix a little bit of a hole, that's okay. So I'm kind of a believer. I had learned that somewhere. So, to pick up some extra stitches and then knit 2 together. So as we look at our stitches that are on a holder here we've got them. I've got 15 on a holder. Here's my gusset. So your gusset should look like this, okay? And then let's look at our directions. Our directions say for the thumb, reattach a yarn to begin working on the thumb, leaving 6 inches, blah, blah, blah. place the 15 stitches on pointed needles and place a stitch marker. We're not really going to place a stitch marker on the needle because it simply falls off with magic loop. So we can't do that. Then it says knit to the end of the round and then pick up one stitch on the hand of the mitten. And that one stitch she says that she picks up is the backward loop cast on. So we want to end up with one stitch. So I like picking up 3 stitches instead of 1 stitch. And then when I come back around, I'm going to knit 2 together, knit my 1 stitch and knit 2 together to cinch that up more. Because if you look at this, so let's just examine this a little bit. I'm going to turn it this way. Let me get you in closer. If I were to pick up the 1 stitch, there's just, look at where our stitch is here. And this is your column of stitches. So you can follow down. This is just a working yarn, that gray there. I had to be fancy. So this column of stitches is actually attached to that stitch there. I know it doesn't look like it, but it is. Okay, and then on the same way on this side, this column is attached to that. But it always feels so gappy in here. And when I was making my baby sweaters, I had a gal that was helping me, and she really talked to me about picking up extra stitches. So here's our one stitch that we did the backwards loop casts on with. We did it with the red. I did it with the red. And it's like, if I just pick that up, it's going to be really gappy. So one of the things I like to do when I'm picking up my stitches like this is I like to look at it before I get too involved in it, instead of just jumping right in and saying, where would I pick this up? Well, I might pick it up here, and I pick it up here. And for those of you that have done our smooth operator socks before, you might remember how we would pick up a leg of the stitch and turn it and put it on the needle. That'll even tighten it up more if you'd like to tighten it up more. So the first thing we have to do is we have to get these stitches off the waste yarn. So you can do this with me if you want. And I've got 15, and I'm going to end up, I'm actually going to put 18 stitches on and end up back with 16. But I'm going to pick up 8 from the front. So I'm going to slide my needle in, and a lot of times I like to lift this, lift that cord up so it kind of lifts that stitch up. Not cord, but yarn. That's the thing. I use just a sock yarn here, and that allows those stitches to collapse. So sometimes it's good to use the same appropriate weight because your stitches do collapse with the size of yarn that you would put it on. Okay, so there's 4. I'm going to put 6. 6, 7, and 8. And I'm not going to pull my waste yarn out yet. Okay. Then what I do, got to take it back a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. Then I'm going to pull that out as if I were magic looping. So I've got my 8 stitches on. I'm going to pull that through. I'm going to turn the mitten around. Now the stitches that are still on the waste yarn are facing me. And I'm going to take my other needle, and I'm going to get these stitches up on the needle off the waste yarn. If you have questions, ask me. But I get them in position before we start doing anything, okay?
Angie, when you put these on the waste yarn, there's something that this was talking about before that, cast on 1 stitch using the backwards loop method at the end of the round and over the gusset. I don't know what that looks like.
Well, you don't really see it because it's buried deep in there. It's not on your waste yarn. So it's just a little cast on like what we did when we when we did our backwards loop cast on, but it is buried in here. It's right in here, Nancy.
Okay.
So there's 2, 4, 6, 7. So I've got 8 and 7. I've got my 15. My stitches look good. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out. So you're not picking up that yarn, not that yarn, but that stitch was not put on your waist yarn. So you're going to pull your waist yarn out like this. Okay. And actually your stitches get kind of movable then. So then they're movable. Okay. So I'm going to turn my knit. I'm going to turn my mitten back around. I'm going to push, push, push. And now I am ready to do that first round. And this is where we're going to add the yarn in and we're going to pick up the stitches. Okay. So just like our mittens, just like our socks, we have a front and a back. This is my beginning. I kind of know my beginning is here in the crook of my thumb. Okay. You could put a marker here if you wanted. You don't really put a marker on your needle because it will fall off. So now let's look at our directions again. And it says, it says we place the stitches on 3 double points, but we've done the 2. Now we're going to knit to the end of the round. So I'm going to introduce my next yarn, or my thumb yarn. And I'm just going to knit these stitches just like I would a magic loop. So I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to go ahead and knit the stitches across. I think you've all mastered the magic loop, haven't you, pretty well? Okay, we finished there. We're going to pivot it. Push, push, push. Pull and knit this. I have 7 stitches on this side. And then we're going to talk about how we're going to pick stitches up. You've all done a good job of tightening up, but not too tight. Okay, now I've done that first knit round. And now she says in her directions to pick up 1 stitch. And this is where I like to pick up the 3 stitches. You can pick up 1 stitch and see how it works for you. I have a hunch it's going to be pretty gappy. What's always a bit of an issue here is you've introduced this yarn here. And so things are tug, but not tug snug. Don't tug too tight. So like with adding all of these yarns in here, I had to be really careful not to tug and snug, but not too tight, because then the stitches really collapse down and it compromises the row. And it's kind of the same way with here. So lots of times I leave these tails out for a bit. I don't tuck them in. You know, I know some of us get really aggravated with tails, but I don't tuck them in because I need to pull them just a smidge. And if I tuck them down in that thumb, then I can't get to them to get it, you know, to get it picked up. So how do we pick up a knit? There's lots of ways to do it. I like to just use my needle to pick it up and knit. And let's see if I can get a good angle for you guys. There's so much going on. Okay, let's go back a little bit. Here is our whole area that we've got. So really, Nancy, that stitch is buried right down in here. That's that cast on stitch down there. So you really look at this and you say that if I just pick that up, that would be, so I give this a look and I say, and I want to pick up red. I don't want to pick up the gray. So I'm going to come down here. And when you pick it up and knit, I just kind of pick it up and give it a look. And I think that looks pretty good where I picked that up. Now you could use a crochet hook to make your stitch, but I like to just knit it like it's a knit stitch. So I do need to engage my other needle. And I picked it up, and then I'm going to knit it. All right, gotta find my yarn. And knit that stitch. So there's one stitch. Okay. Now this is where I would pick up my cast on stitch. So I'm going to come down here, find him, and he's just a little loop. So what I might like to do with him is turn him around backwards on my needle. I could even turn him like that. That just gives him an extra twist. And then I'm going to knit that stitch. This is just awkward. And then I see how I'm tightening him up there. And then I'm going to do one more stitch. One more stitch. And so I'm going to look here. I'm coming up to this other side. I might come to the base of this stitch, pick him up. There he goes. Put him on and knit him. Okay. And now I've done, and I need to do some cinching with my yarns there so that this guy isn't so sticking out, but I don't quite know where my yarn is. Okay, so I picked up 3 instead of 1. I picked up these 3 stitches. Does that make sense? Questions? All right, so what am I going to do? Am I going to leave those 3? You could, but that's, you know, that's a good maybe 1/4 of an inch that you're adding to the size of your thumb. So let's look at our directions. It says, pick up 1 stitch on the hand of the mitten, pick up the stitch in the backward loop cast on, then knit every round until the thumb measures. So now what we're going to do is we're going to knit another round and we're going to get rid of those stitches. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to get it back to 16 stitches because I should have 15 plus 1. Pull him in. So this is how I'm going to do it. What I really want to do, but I can't do it yet, is I'm going to knit all the way around. So I'm starting again. I'll knit around. Knit around.
Angie,
Uh-huh.
this is Denise.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to run, but I want to be on the next class.
That's
So
fine.
when you guys start at the beginning.
Yep. We start next week, same place, same time. Just do your homework.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll be on then. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Denise.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so I'm coming around. Coming around. My needle is not working. That sometimes happens, doesn't it? And that could be those little picked up stitches. All right. So I'm coming up to those last 3 stitches when I come around this way, because we got to eliminate them. And this is just one of those things, just like our sock gussets and sock things. You just get better with practice on this. So your first couple, all right, so I've got 3 stitches here. I want to preserve this stitch in the middle, but I want to close the gap with this guy. So I'm gonna, because this was the first one we cast on, picked up. This is the second one we picked up, and this is the third one we picked up. So when you pick up extra stitches like that, you've got to knit 2 together at some point. So we could say, well, why wouldn't I knit these 2 together? Well, they were the picked up ones. That doesn't close it up. This is one that was not picked up. This is one that was picked up. So I'm going to knit those 2 together because that cinches that up closer to that edge. Then I'm going to knit the one in the middle. And you're going to say, well, dang, how am I going to get that with the next one? Well, we just simply pull our magic loop through like we do when we're doing our sock decreases. pull our magic loop through. He pops him over to this side. We knit 2 together and we're good to go.
Tricky.
Turkey. There we go. Piece of cake. Sorry.
It's magic.
So now we're going to knit 2 together. And now technically I should be at 16. Hopefully. And now I'm ready. Okay. And then you're going to knit until you want it the length that you want it.
Okay.
All right. Now let's just give it a little bit of a look and see. No, he looks kind of gappy. I think partially it's because I've got loose ends that I haven't been able to pull in. But in reality, yeah, I've got some loose ends I got to pull in. So that's what I like to do to get that to look a little bit more. Let's go back to the other one that I have done. See how you could see how I've got the stitches cinched up a little bit more.
Yes.
There's a little bit of a gap here. And again, some of that is because I've got to weave ends in, and you can correct a lot with weaving ends in. But I like picking up those extra stitches in that little gusset. And there you be. So questions?
Angie,
Angie,
that's,
this is Sharon. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, I like that mitten. Those colors are great.
They are fun, aren't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, this is Sharon Gordon.
yeah.
I am not able to locate the email that had the second set of the instructions on. So if you could resend that after class, that would be great.
Yeah, we'll give it a look and see where it's at, Sharon.
Thank you.
You got the first ones?
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll check it out and see where it's at then.
Thank you.
Okay, you bet. Susan, Feely, you've done lots of picking up stitches. Do you ever do the when you pick up the extra and knit 2 together?
Yes. And one thing that I think makes it a little easier to pick up the stitches or pick up along there those extra 2 stitches, if you make an extra loop with your cable, so it almost looks like you have Mickey Mouse ears. And that way your needle is a little more free to manipulate those stitches.
Yes.
So it's
good.
kind of like you have you would have had like your 7 stitches and then your 8 stitches and then pulled out another loop before you picked up the 3. And that just gives you a little more flexibility.
Okay, very good. But you've done the extra and then knit 2 together. You feel like that makes
Right.
it.
And sometimes I do I do the next round and then don't knit them together until that next round. So
Okay.
I knit one round plain and then go ahead and get rid of them in the next round.
Okay.
Because your thumb starts out a little wider anyway, so it's that extra couple of stitches isn't going to make a difference.
Okay, that's good tips. And you all can kind of play with it a little bit to kind of find, it's just like in your heels. Sometimes I get a good do and sometimes it's not a good do, and then I make the decision. Do I want to just fix it with weaving ends in? Am I good with that? Or do I want it to, do I want to take it back and make it better? But it takes some practice. It's not like just picking up ends, picking up and knitting along the edge of something. You're doing this in the crook of the thumb on small amount of stitches. Lots of times we pick up stitches along a really nice straight edge, and that, that even in itself can be challenging. But here we're doing it in this little crook. But if you become a mitten knitter, then you'll get better at it. You'll get really experienced with it. Let's talk a little bit about fit. Mine, I did the 40 and I went down to a size 4 because I felt like my other mittens were pretty big. And I kind of wish I had stayed on a 5. So these two are one of those things that just changing needle size, I kept thinking maybe I ought to go up to a 44 stitches. And then I actually tried on the mittens in the shop again today, and I'm like, oh no, the 40 is really perfect. So I kind of wish that I had stayed on my 5 instead of my 4. I know your pattern says 6 and 7, but that's for you guys. That's unless you're super loose like I am. So other questions you have? You're all working away. Let me show you. I brought the mittens home. I happened to grab them, and let's just give them a look again. And so we can think about sizing. Okay, so here we go. And I think we talked last week about that she has another pattern called the Wee Little Mittens. And this one is about as cute as can be. Now that's a little fun, isn't it? And that's a cast on of 24. And then this is 28. And this is 32. And then this is the medium 36. And then cast on large 40. And the XL is a 44. And boy, they get pretty darn big here. And then the cast on the XXL. So look at those big old mittens. Those are pretty nice. So, you know, gives you kind of an idea. And these were knit by all different staff members at the shop. So, you know, I haven't really stopped to count the gauge. We ought to do that, Susan. Check the gauge on these, see if we were all kind of close to gauge. They're really reversible. So your thumb, it'll work left hand, right hand. There's really no difference in that. You don't have to be concerned about that. I did grab my Noro mittens that I made. So I used the same pattern and used Noro yarn and made these mittens. And with Noro yarn, we like them because of the striping that it does. And then I made the matching hat to go with it too. So, and I wanted so this is kind of, you can wear it slouchy, or you can wear it slouchy like that, or you can pull it up. So if you want, I mean, the wool stock is a great yarn, and they're going to be really a warm yarn. Look, I got my tag on my hat. But and so's the Noro. This is Noro Curion. But I tell you what, they make a really fun mitten. So you might want to think about, and I made my match so you can see that, but a lot of Noro knitters will just simply start where it starts and let it fall where it falls. But I couldn't quite do that. I had to make a match. And it's a fun pattern to make, fun pattern to do. So we've got some curio in the shop, and I think they make kind of cute kids mittens too. So the striping that then occurs with the Noro, but you can make the mittens pretty much out of any. And then of course we got our New York pom-poms, which just absolutely always make the hat. Just, you know, you can make a great looking hat, but you put that pom-pom on and it's like, just really, really makes it outstanding. Okay, other questions you have? Tips, techniques? Anything I can help you with?
Angie, I'm making my mitten a 40. My hand's just a box. It's just a square. So they've
Okay.
got to be wide for me. So I can fix the length. I just need to make it. I needed
Sure.
to make it wider.
Sure. You know, as much as we think a mitten isn't fit, a mitten is kind of fit, you know, because our hands are all different and they're different lengths. And, And the thing that's always important is we really should keep good records. So whether you do that on Ravelry or you have a notebook that you do it in, you will not remember. You will not remember that you cast on a 40. If we didn't have these little tags on these mittens, we would have to count the rib to figure out how many we cast on. So you think you're going to remember, but you don't. And you know, guys, if you haven't done the Ravelry and put your projects on Ravelry, that's a great place to do it, because then it's digital. You're out and about and you need to look it up. You can look it up right on Ravelry. And, you know, we're going to get all of our mittens now up online too, so that you can go and refer to them and be able to look at them in our KPS projects so that you can track from there. Karen, do you have yours done there? Look like you have it done. Slip it on. Oh, looks good. Slip it on. Let's see how it fits. You're wearing your needles. Hey, that looks fat. How does it feel fit-wise? Pretty good? It looks good. Looks like a good fit. Congratulations. Anybody else have a show and tell to try on? Cheryl, let's
Angie, I
see.
have a question.
Yeah.
I used the Noro this time, and I had a terrible problem with it breaking. Is that common, or?
It will break because it's a single
does break.
ply. You can't yank it.
Okay.
So yeah, you got to kind of learn how to knit with it a bit, because it's single ply. So it isn't a twist. It doesn't have as
Okay.
much twist on it as like the wool sock has. And so therefore it will do that.
Sure
So-
is cute though.
I know it is. Sometimes, remember, those things are worth it.
Mhm.
Cheryl, I want to see your little mitten again. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
And how old is, you're making it for Nora? I can't hear you. Everybody just starts.
Then I thought I would use gray and maybe blue for Holt.
And how old is Nora again? 4?
Nora's 3.
She's
she's
3.
almost 4.
Did you try them on her?
I
how
measured
did-
her. I measured around her this way,
Okay.
but I didn't measure this way. But the wrist, I made 3 inches, I think.
That's nice. I like the length on that.
Yeah, and then they can fold them over,
Mhm.
you know, so you don't have that snow getting in your coat sleeve.
Right. So how many did you cast on then?
I did 32 to start with, and then I just, well, I shouldn't tell you this, but I got it down to 28 as I went. I made it smaller because I thought it was going to be too big. So
That's okay.
show
I
and
shouldn't have
tell.
said that. Cheryl and I have been
Take it all
friends.
out. I already had this part done, and then I thought, oh, I bet a 32 is going to be too big. So the first
Okay.
row of my gray, then I made it 28.
That works
Nobody's
too.
ever going to know.
No, that works too. That's part of that adjustment. That's part of that adjustment. That's a-okay. Right. Nobody's ever going to know.
See if I can share this. There's a happy boy trying on a thumbless mitten.
There he is. And how many did you cast on, Sandra?
32 for my 4-year-old.
Okay.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So I made them with a little growing room.
Okay. So there you go. There's a gauge for those of you that are thinking about knitting for little ones or something like that. Okay, other questions? Help?
You know,
Tips?
by January, when there's, 300 mittens that need a mate in the lost and found at your son's school or any school, and they all bought it at Shopko or Target or somewhere. So there's those mittens, Sandra, those will be easy to spot in the lost and found someday. They'll be very recognizable instead of 300 lost mittens that need their owner, and that just gets
I thought about that when I was making these, that,
Good,
you
good.
know, how kids lose their mittens. I thought, oh, this is a lot of work. So after I got done with one, I thought I should have made them for myself.
I'm knitting for my granddaughter, and I'm just gonna put A on one and Z on the other one for Abby Zavadil. And so, you know, if she loses one, maybe it'll get back to her. I don't know, but we'll
Now,
see.
you may have heard these stories, but I'm going to tell it again because I knit for my kids and they're in their 20s and Sarah's 30 now. But when I first knit them things, I said to them, I want you to wear them because I don't want you to not wear them because you're afraid you're going to lose them. And I said, if you lose them, Andrew was in college at the time, he could have left them in a classroom or something like that. Oh, well, so whoever finds it, good for them, because so many people, and I'm guilty of this, when I have my kids, I got all kinds of beautiful blankets from aunts and great aunts and all that. And you know what? They sit in the drawer. I didn't use them. We do that because we think, oh my gosh, they're too special. I can't use them.
Yes.
And that's not why we're making them for people. We're making them for them to enjoy and wear. And if they lose one, you'll make another one, How about some mismatched mittens? That would be kind of cute. Actually, I think the kids do that. They wear mismatched socks and all of those things.
Now that's actually what I'm planning to do with my Burke sock. I'm going to do one purple with pink and the other pink with purple.
Very good. Very fun. Now you did see in her pattern that she's got the fingerless that you can just, leave the top off. So on that page, it has that whole thing if you want to do that. Susan, you don't have your little mitts there, do you? That you made?
I can get them. I've got them right over
Yeah, they're very cute. Very
close by.
Yeah, she had them at the shop last week and they were darling. Let's see them.
Yeah, they're just,
hold them back a little bit. You can.
These are out of fingering though.
Yeah.
But I made them with a fold on. These are for my 4-year-old granddaughter. But I figured she could flip them down if her fingers were cold. But if she wanted to use her fingers, she can flop them back.
That is
So-
a great idea.
So
Great
anyway,
Cute idea, really. I mean, we could all use that because now we've all need to do our phone, So how do you take your glove off so that you can do your phone? Next week, we're going to redo Mittens again. So we had such high demand. So you're certainly welcome to sit back in on it if you want to. Knit your second pair of your second one of your mitten and just listen in and participate. You're always in. And you can just do it. So I will send this out to you again tomorrow, but congratulations on you'll have your thumb done tonight, I'm sure. There's nothing else to do tonight, is there?
No. My
No.
TV is on. I don't want to know a thing about it. Not even going to turn my TV on tonight.
Okay. Well, that's why we've got our knitting. I can't tell you how many people came in today and said, I'm so glad I'm just knitting. So it's a big day. No doubt it is. So you got your mitten done there, Susan? Were you holding it up?
not quite. I've got,
I thought I saw. Oh, yeah, there we go. See, so you're going to do another round or two, or are you going to call that good?
oh no, I've got a little ways to go,
Okay.
but
Very fun. Very good. So mittens, this is worth the wait. If you want to change your yarns, then you might have to change the number of stitches that you do. Like Leanne, you were in and we talked about bulky weight and just changing the size you make. You can still use your bulky yarn, but just, change the size you make. So, and then of course, once you master a mitten, there's not a lot of different ways to knit them. So you can go find a DK weight or fingering weight, that's sock weight, a fingering weight to do it as well. So,
This one
Okay.
this one is a 44. This one is the extra large, but I
Is it-
knit it pretty tight to get it.
it
it's
looks
a pretty
good.
solid mitten.
Yeah, I like the fit of it. I do like my tighter mitten, just a smidge. I kind of agree with that. So, all right. Well, thank you all for being on, and we will shoot you once we download and upload and download it again and get it on to you. We'll have it for you so that you can come back and look at it. Thank you for being on. I love spending my evenings with you. And we will see you next time for your next class or whenever you join us or see us at the shop. So thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank
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 you.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.